I'm going to share my screen and show you a little chart that I borrowed from a place called The Therapist Uncensored. And this is going to help us understand our attachment style, like our various attachment styles, okay? Mm-hmm. So here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So when we talk about different attachment styles, there's a fear that is at play or at the forefront of our mind. There's something that dominates our way of thinking. There's a particular physical reaction, and then there's a way that we regulate our emotions.
Okay.
So let's start with the person who is avoidant. Avoidant is also called dismissive sometimes. And if people fall into this category, you're welcome to ask questions because I tend to be avoidant. So I'm happy to answer questions about this. So when we experience fear plus a certain kind of threat, now that threat can be, it could be anything. It could be conversations about opening up. It could be conversations about sexual satisfaction. Anything that feels threatening to your ego, the psyche, if you feel, for a lot of us, we might feel that our relationship is making us lose our own personal sense of identity, or we don't know how to negotiate time away from our partners. So the prominent fear for the avoidant person is loss of self. That's the thing that they're worried about most, right? And what dominates in their brain is thought and logic. So earlier when I said the person who is kind of avoidant or aloof, we sexualize their unavailability, right? And because we do that, we fail to see that, they are afraid. They're afraid of connection because they think it's going to be at the cost of themselves. We don't see that they've resorted to being just like these logical beings because their nervous system is shut down and they don't connect to emotion. In our world, we are kind of like, ooh, they're so put together. Ooh, they're so unavailable. They're so sexy, or they're so in control. But they're not actually. They've shut down. And physiologically, they're putting the brakes on a lot of things. And the way they experience internal dysregulation is to auto-regulate. So that means relying on yourself, right? So if I feel like I'm going to lose myself in this connection, or I've been dating this person and, they're sending me too many messages, I start relying a lot on myself, doing my own thing, and becoming more distant. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Any questions, any comments?
It reminds me of the whole, like, if you love it, you should have put a ring on it kind of thing. Like, it seems like they're talking to the avoidant person, I guess, in that song. I don't know. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, totally. And to be fair, I think stereotypically we categorize by gender, and we tend to think of women as anxious and men as avoidant.
Yep, exactly.
That's like so not true.
Right, exactly. But I definitely can say, as a woman, I've had boyfriends like that where it's like, oh man, definitely the question of, will he pop the question, or will he ask me to go steadier, or whatever, I think that's so you're always wondering that, and definitely I was very, not understanding in especially in high school when boys were like that, boys, men, whatever, were like that, or there was people, I remember even my ex-husband would be like, before we were living together, it was like, I can only stay over at your house this many nights. And I was like, why? Like, what? And and he's not like that at all. So it was like very shocking to me when he was just like, sure, anytime, like move in, whatever, let's just do this, And I was just like, because it took me years and years to get my ex-husband to like propose, and you know what I mean? And it was And
but so, look, the ex, when he says, I'm only going to stay over X number of nights, to me that sounds like he's he's actually quite in touch with his avoidance, and he's saying, like, if we contain this, I can allow for us to really integrate, right? But if it's like without parameters, I'm gonna lose myself. That's the worry.
Gotcha.
So there's a kind of mitigation. He knows his attachment style to some degree.
Well, he would actually let me know that it was mostly about money, that he didn't want to be paying for an apartment that he wasn't sleeping at, which again, thought logic, thought that was interesting. The dominating thought was like mostly just the logic. Why would I stay there if I pay for here?
No, and that's like, that's a nice thing to say, but that's like, I don't believe it, right?
Okay,
like
neither do I. All right, good.
Because I'm like, it makes sense, and I'm glad he can rely on that, but actually, to me as a therapist, somebody who's focused on emotions, I'm thinking you're like, you could pay for that apartment and it symbolizes your autonomy while you're making a choice to stay somewhere else. Like, that's also fine, right?
Right.
You're choosing to think about it this way because you're afraid of losing yourself. You're afraid of overcommitment. You're like, those are, and it's okay for you to put those parameters in place. The thought or logic, like, you pulled it out of the air and that's great.
Okay, I gotcha. That makes sense. Gotcha.
All right. Now we're thinking about the person who tends to be a bit more anxious, which is the two of you. Although you do seem to have a lot of security in your attachment style. The person who's anxious might also be really preoccupied, right? And a nicer way to say it, like if you find that language pejorative or you feel like it's not a nice label, you might say that the person who's anxious is support seeking. My friend Marco helped me with that reframe recently. So the person who is in contact with other people, in a relationship of any kind, they're going to have fear. And when they see a threat, so the person I'm interested in is flirting with other people, or the person I'm interested in or I'm in a relationship with has been silent for a couple of days, or they're going through something in their life. I'm not sure if I'm going to be enough for them, right? The threat and the fear combined revolves around losing the other person. So the avoidant person worries about loss of self. The anxious, preoccupied, support-seeking person worries about loss of the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And so what comes to the forefront is their emotions, right? Because we're talking about anticipatory grief. We're fearing loss. We're worried about what life will be like if I'm not enough for them and they leave me, and or things get destabilized, right? We start to anticipate what that grief will look like. And physiologically, they start to accelerate, right? Because when your emotions are heightened, your thoughts often tend to match that heightened state of anxiety. So you're spiraling, you're thinking about a lot of possible negative outcomes. So the person who's anxious often gets labeled in kind of negative or pejorative ways because we're like, hey, you're acting crazy, or you are, you're totally out of whack. But actually, the person whose emotions become more heightened, they're not crazy. They're often responding to somebody who's avoidant or is afraid of the other person's emotions. So as the other one person shuts down, the other person's emotions become more active so that they can be visible, so that they're seen.
Yes. Right. So there was somebody gave me a similar example. They said, do you know why two people that love each other shout at each other, or yell? And it's because their hearts feel very distant and they have to make up the space to be heard.
Aww.
Something like that.
Good.
Does that sound similar?
That does sound familiar, but I would also say that people can accomplish that without yelling. But yes.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm saying
conflict could be a way that
they can
people
totally accomplish it without yelling. I'm not giving you a valid reason to yell at someone. I'm just saying that we have a tendency to do that. It's like
it's like you're explaining why. It's just like, oh, that's an interesting way of it's a sweet way of understanding it. Yeah.
For the two of you, if you're both like in this anxious category or tend to be there, you might find yourselves being like, either you're cautious and you talk about it immediately, or you both feel it and it does come out in a bit of an explosion, but you're not going to abandon each other. You're both there and you want to work it out because that's going to feel good for both of you. There's a desire for not auto-regulation, but external regulation. So I use something else outside of me to make me feel better. That could be another person. It's not necessarily my partner, but often the anxious person will have their own set of tools. Like, I'll go for a walk, I'll bike ride, I'll sip tea, I'll do a breathing exercise, I'll do some self-talk, I'll go to my therapist, blah, blah, blah.
Right. An outlet of some sort, or a,
Yeah, coping.
Yeah, or
coping mechanism. I'll start
banging things
coping.
around the house.
Got it. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I'll start slamming doors. You could also be the anxious person. Might also be passive aggressive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we've got what the two of you really exemplify in a lot of the work you've done and a lot of the growth you have in your life. Right? There's a secure attachment with a tinge of anxiety. So,
I love that.
you know,
For sure.
when you have the safety, there's not a ton of fear, right? You're not fearing you're going to lose yourself or the other person. There's a lot of me and we feels very stable.
Oh,
So
and
that
me
means
and
that
me.
I can have a conversation, I can bring up something, and um, no one's going to feel like this person's too much, and I'm not going to feel like I'm pushing them away or that the I'm going to lose the relationship.
Right.
Now, I noticed you put your hand on Melissa's
Uh-huh.
leg when we talked about this. What's coming up for you right now as I talk about that?
Oh, nothing. I've touched her a couple times during the talk, and I just
We
kind
were
of
bumping chairs.
Yeah, we bumped chairs, and we were trying to give each other space, and then I kind of messed around with her, and I was just like, oh, well, I'll just touch
It's like,
her.
oh, since I'm right over here,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
might as well, like, caress you. Yeah.
Right. I don't think there was any. I don't think I was
Yeah,
really
it
referencing.
It wasn't
mentally.
anything. Okay.
Sorry.
I thought to me, I was just
But
like,
it is
oh,
an
they're
intimate
really...
talk about stuff. I'm sitting here right here with my partner that I go through this stuff with. So
I wish we could get the visual back on. Like, I don't know
think-
why we can't get our
well, he
our
switched
video.
it because he switched it.
Why don't I see the video part that we see here? I wonder.
Oh, do you not see the chart?
We
I see the
ch-
chart. Yeah, I can't get it to show the video that we're. Whoops. Well, anyway, but we're fine. We're fine.
Yeah, it's
we'll
all
wait
right.
till we go
Okay,
back to the regular
so-
thing. Yeah, when we're done
So
with this.
here's the thing: when we experience safety in a relationship, and this is how you know, the two of you are creating a good environment for each other. When you can have both thought and logic, and you allow yourself to feel. No one person feels like the crazy emotional, and the other person feels like the grounded logical. In truth, both people should have emotions. Like I'm feeling criticized or rejected, or I feel a bit sad, or I'm eager. There should be some emotion words, and there should be access to some logic. And it's not about accelerating or breaking, but there's a sense of being well paced. And being well paced, for people, especially with trauma histories, it can also look like saying, okay, I feel really amped up right now. Like, let's come back to this. Let's talk about this. And the people who feel safety with each other can often switch from conflict to doing an activity together without hating the other person, and then come back to the conversation.
Yeah.
Right? And in that, the regulation is, I'm not looking to rely on myself to fix my emotions. I'm not heavily relying on something external like, bike riding or drinking a lot of alcohol or
Alcohol,
something
yeah, sure.
else. I'm getting it through my partner. We're gonna co-regulate with each other, right? So that's the beauty of it. And to me, it sounds like from what you've described of your results, the two of you get to do that quite often.